of cheap travel knowledge. Okay. Cool. Alrighty, told people I'll be going live again. I didn't actually give an exact time. I said I'll be going about the same time as last night. It's pretty close. But just getting the camera set up. Wait for some people to come in. Cool. Hello, Minnesota. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the first class of Cheap Travel Knowledge. Thank you for being in here. Means a lot. So I'm going to wait for a few more people to come in, and then we'll start going over some of the, we're going to go over the class. You're going to be able to see what the class will end up being like. It will normally be on Zoom, but I'm going to be doing the class for a few weeks on YouTube, just so my audience can see what they could be getting from the class. And then in the actual class, we are going to be going over similar things, but you can actually talk to me because on Zoom, I can be able to grab your screen and then allow you to ask me the questions in person, which I would prefer more. All right, cool. We already got 4 people in here. That's pretty awesome. Welcome, Acho. Cool. All right. You know what? Since we already have a few people already in here, I'm just going to start. I don't even care. So I just got a new card today, and it's always fun to get a new card. I don't know if anyone can guess which card I have. I actually have a video going on the entire journey of my new card, but I currently have just brought into my wallet the Capital One Venture X card. This is a card I've been wanting for some time now. I have applied for it, gotten denied for it, applied for it, gotten denied for it, but finally I actually end up getting approved for this card. Now, this card has a lot of things that open up if you get deeper into the points and miles game. One of the things we're going to go over in this class end up being how you can end up using different miles from different partners and why you shouldn't really be loyal to any specific bank. Because if you are loyal to one specific bank, it reduces your options when it comes to trying to find award availability or take advantage of sweet spots. But yes, finally I got the Venture X card. Now, if you are interested, check out the description box. There should be a link for this card that I actually have. And the link for this card is actually going to have an elevated offer. So if you look on Capital One's website, it's only going to end up being 75,000 points. But if you actually end up using the referral link, it actually ends up being 90,000 points. So if you decide to use my referral link, I'll really appreciate it. If you happen to have a player or two that has it, then use their referral link. Or if you decide to use, regardless of how you're going to end up getting it, if you decide you actually want to get this card, you're going to need to use a referral link to get the highest offer out there. But the Venture X card, oh, let's see. I'm going to read now what's down here. Watching. Oh, cool. Awesome. What's the best overall card for a hotel? And I don't know if there's one specific card that's going to be the best for hotels and air travel if I was going to choose one. So I'm going to go over why I like this card, things that are great about this card, and then I'll even tell you, like, for instance, compare it to something like the American Express Platinum. So how the format of the Cheap Travel Knowledge class is going to end up going is we're going to do more basic things to start off, then we're going to go more to intermediate, and then we're going to start to end off with a little more advanced. Now, I don't want people to get like overly confused because I understand there's all different levels of people who are trying to learn this information. So I want there to be something that can be able to fit all different levels of people. When it comes to the best card, I think that the Capital One Venture X card can actually end up being, for the vast majority of people, the best travel card. And that's the reason why, one of the reasons why I actually end up wanting to get this card ever since it first came out. Now, this card, just a quick summary of the card, is going to give you $300 travel credit when you actually end up using it through Capital One's travel portal. You're going to get yourself 10,000 points each anniversary with having this card. So if you actually end up looking at both of those things combined, that ends up equaling out to $400 in value. The venture miles on just base level is going to end up being 1 cent equaling 1 point if you end up just redeeming them for travel purchases. So if you actually end up grabbing both of those two things, you're looking at getting yourself $400 in value. You have a $395 annual fee with this card. So very easily, as long as you just use the travel portal one time and spend $300, you've already gotten yourself positive value. Okay, that's one of the main reasons why I like this card, because I like to try to make it so that it's easy for people to get themselves positive value. Even though I like to earn membership reward points more, or I tend to use membership rewards points earning cards the most, I recommend Chase cards to a lot of people because I want it there to be ease of getting themselves positive value. If I recommend something like the American Express Gold card to people, I have to hope that the person who I'm recommending it to is going to take advantage of the dining credit, of the Uber credit. And there are a lot of people out there who tend to not actually use these credits each month, so they end up losing out on the value. And then also the value when it actually ends up coming to, how much, if you end up looking at like the discount of what the prepaying for Uber, prepaying for something like Grubhub, then you can probably bring that down and actually not make the credit you're getting at the same level. So that's the reason why when it comes to Chase, I love to recommend Chase to people because of the fact that you can end up getting yourself easy positive value. The Capital One Venture X card is going to be the best travel luxury credit card when it comes to ease of getting yourself positive value. I'm not saying it's going to be the one that's going to be able to give you the potential for the most value, but I will say that if you are someone who doesn't want to have to be super deep into this game and have to worry about getting yourself positive value from a card, this is going to be the card that's going to easily get you positive value. Now, for those of you who just joined, I'm going over the Capital One Venture X, which is actually the newest card I just added to my wallet. This is a card that I've applied for twice before, got denied for twice, applied for again after I saw there was an elevated offer when it came to using someone's referral link, and I was able to get approved for 90,000 points after I ended up hitting the minimum spend for this card. Now, let me just look at the comments. Let's see. Yeah, perfect. Using it for rental cars, that ends up being a great place to end up using it. Whatever you can actually end up, like for myself, there are going to be hotels that I'm going to use throughout the year that I am not actually going to be with a loyalty program. So while I do want to stay with Hyatt, there's going to be, I'm going to a wedding in February that I'm not going to be staying with any specific loyalty program. So this would end up being great for that. Now I'm actually using my Chase Sapphire Preferred to get the $50 hotel credit there, but there's always going to end up being, or not always, but I think that for a lot of people who travel, there's going to end up being situations where you're going to be able to use the credit 4 times that are not going to be connected with a loyalty program. So the $300 travel credit for me, I think is actually going to be pretty easy to take advantage of. Just this year, I went to the Points and Miles meetup with Luke Points Miles and all the other content creators, and I stayed at the Four Seasons. I used the hotel credit that's connected with American Express there to get myself $200 back to me for that stay. So something like this would end up being great for a trip like that. Now, when it comes to also like the other multipliers for this card, very simple catch-all 2x card. There are other good ones out there, such as getting yourself the City Double Cash will end up being great, and also getting yourself the business card with the Business Blue Plus card with American Express. The thing about the Business Blue Plus card with American Express is that there is actually going to be a cap. So depending on how big of a spender you are, it is good to know that. What's going on, Chad? Thank you so much for coming in. Yes, please hit the like button. I didn't even think about saying that. But thank you, Chad, for reminding me. I'm always thankful for people who are giving me helpful information. Chad right now giving me that. Anthony Venture last night. Thank you for the information if you end up jumping into this feed at all. But yes, so getting yourself easy positive value with this card. And then also this card being a catch-all card is going to give you 2x back when it comes to the all of your purchases. Now, when it comes to using this card through the travel portal, which is what they advertise and they want you to end up doing, this is not something I'm going to use to try to book flights. I have the American Express Platinum card. I get 5x back directly with airlines. That is how I'm going to use it. And I would say that for flights, there could end up being issues if you decide to use your a credit card through the travel portal with flights. If there ends up being changes and you want to cancel, it just ends up being sometimes complicated. So I would say that if you can avoid it, do it. But if you want to try to get yourself the extra points, then you can by all means go that way. Now, What I am going to do is, if I can find myself hotels that happen to not be connected with any specific loyalty program, I'll use this card to get myself 10x back there. And then, as earlier, JG said using it, I think it was JG said it. Who said it? No, Macho said using it for rental cars. Whatever I'm actually able to take advantage of with the travel portal, just trying to find a way where I can actually end up getting myself the higher multiplier. So get myself hotels and then also car rentals, getting that 10x back. But getting 2x back as a catch-all card ends up being really strong. Or just, it should be the base level. Some people do end up using themselves something like the Freedom Unlimited card, getting yourself the half a point less. I think Chase does that because of the fact of how they can give you a booster in the travel portal. But knowing that this card is going to give me the 2x back on all my purchases, this is my new catch-all card that I'm going to be using. Now, when I compare this card to something like the Chase Sapphire Reserve card or the American Express Platinum card, I think that when you look at this card compared to the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, I don't see, I mean, I'm not even a fan of the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, so I'm going to say that beforehand. But when I look at the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, I just don't think that it even compares. This card is just a better version of that card. Yes, the travel credit with the Chase Sapphire Reserve card ends up being for all travel purchases, and it's very easy to just get that back. But when you end up looking at something like the Venture X card, if you can just have that purchase or the few purchases through the travel portal to take advantage of it, you have a lower annual fee. You end up getting yourself priority pass the same way, or very similar. It used to be the same way, very similar to how you can get with the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. But additionally with this card is, if you actually happen to be someone who has a family and wants to bring family into the Priority Pass lounges, the Venture X card is going to be the way to do that, because you get to have free authorized users. Say you happen to be a family of 4. If you just add your spouse to being an authorized user, you get to bring the 2 additional people with you into Priority Pass, and your spouse also gets to bring 2 additional people. So you get to bring your entire family into the lounge. You don't have to have a few people going in or everyone just having to wait near the gate. We all want to be able to enjoy the lounge. So if you're someone who actually likes Priority Pass, are there better versions of Priority Pass? I guess the Ritz-Carlton may end up being the best version of it, but I do think that this one ends up being a really, really strong version to get. So for people who end up actually having big families, definitely check out the Venture X card for that reason, for travel, to make it easier to access the lounge and be able to take advantage of the free food and the free drinks. So comparing this card to the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, I just think that just right now doing the live, there's no way I don't even want, I have the option for the Chase Sapphire Reserve card and I don't even want to get it. I just take the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Not because I actually think the Chase Sapphire Preferred is very good either, but I'd rather that card be my ability to transfer over to Chase's travel partners, as compared to having to pay the high annual fee connected with the Chase Sapphire Reserve that needs to be revamped. Now, I am going to do a video comparing all these different cards as well, but I'm just going to do a quick thing right now as I'm going over this new card in my wallet. When you end up actually looking at something like this against the American Express Platinum card, in my opinion, the American Express Platinum card is going to be it has the potential to be the strongest card out there. When you end up looking at things like the Amex offers, we end up looking at things like getting yourself 5x back directly booked with the airlines. We end up looking at all the different credits, and then also just the amount of lounges you can take advantage of. I know that Capital One is adding new lounges, and they have the one in Dallas, and I think they just added another one in, was it DC? So there are going to be more options. But when you look at like Big Daddy Travel Card, Amex Platinum right now, in my opinion, has the potential to be the best. So it doesn't mean that everyone who gets the Amex Platinum is going to get the best value from it. But if you had to have the Amex Platinum and the Capital One Venture X, the Amex Platinum has potential to give you more return. It just comes down to how much you're going to be deep into this game. Because if you can have a Centurion Lounge at your home airport and you're flying once a week, once a month, even just it being once a month is going to give you a decent amount of value from being able to take advantage of that. Now, you can say the same thing about if you happen to have a Capital One lounge at your home airport. But again, we're very much limiting that as compared to the Centurion Lounge currently at the moment. So I'm just going to quickly look at some of the comments, then I'll come back to going over this card a little bit. How much is the 2x back worth in cents wise? So if you were to cash it out, it's terrible value. You're going to get yourself half a cent per point in cash out. You don't want to do that with your venture miles. If you use it for a statement credit, you get yourself 1 mile equaling out to 1 point towards travel purchases. So you could do that. I don't really recommend it. The spot you're going to want to use this for is going to end up being with transfer partners. Capital One has different transfer partners than what you're going to see from Chase and from American Express. Chase and American Express have a lot of great ones. American Express, when it comes to airlines, has the most and probably the best. But Capital One is going to have a transfer partner such as Turkish Airlines, Miles and Smiles, which ends up actually having some incredible value. Now, when you actually end up going to their website, the Turkish Miles and Smiles website is one of the worst websites out there. So if you actually end up using the website, you might end up getting really frustrated and then going, you know what? I don't even feel like even trying to figure out about how to use this program. But if you can be patient, you'll realize that you can actually end up getting yourself some great value. Think about flying over from the US. I could fly from Los Angeles over to Europe for 45,000 Turkish Airlines Miles and Smiles. There are taxes and fees, but other than like Iberia, where it ends up being, I think, a little bit more limited for how much availability it is, that ends up being one of the best values out there for getting yourself a business class flight from the US over to Europe. So this ends up being a great way to get yourself business class awards out there. What's going on, Matt? Welcome. Let's see, do you have any experience using Capital One's customer service? I have. I haven't done it in a while. I remember that when I originally actually had Capital One cards, before everyone was talking about trying to get themselves their annual fees waived, I remember calling up to Capital One and they would tell me they would just waive my annual fees like year after year, because I ended up getting myself like on accident, I got a Quicksilver card that had an annual fee. And I was like, no, I'm not paying this. And they go, I'll tell you what, we'll waive it. And then they waived it and wait for like years. And then eventually I just canceled it because they just got annoying. But if we're talking about how we compare it to like American Express has the best customer service that I've ever dealt with. Citi has the worst customer service that I've ever dealt with. Chase has been fine. So when it comes to just like, if I don't think it's going to be at the level of American Express, but I don't think that it's going to be as bad as Citi. Citi has just been super annoying when it comes to anytime I've ever had to call them. So that's that. Great value to Mexico. Yeah. I'm trying to think of exactly which airline you could end up using, but yeah. Turkish Airlines, great value. I actually haven't even checked that. So that's something I'm going to have to look more into. I've looked mainly into getting over to Europe, but I can check out Turkish Miles to going over to Mexico. That sounds like could end up being, especially if you're flying from somewhere like Seattle, like you're coming in from, ends up being a decent flight. So yeah, thank you for the insight. So the Venture X card, if you're someone who happens to have, let's say, for instance, the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, if you happen to have the Citi Premier card, if you happen to have a travel credit card that isn't giving you lounge access and you want to like just get to the next level, but you don't want to pay a $700 annual fee and you don't want to have to pay $550 for the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, this is going to end up being the lowest when it comes to how much you're going to have to spend for a luxury travel credit card. Now, this isn't going to be the lowest when it comes to getting into Priority Pass lounges. If you just want to get into Priority Pass lounges, maybe like 4, 6, or 8 times throughout the year, get yourself the Hilton Honors card. It's only $95. You get Hilton Gold, and then also you end up getting yourself 10 passes to a Priority Pass. So that's going to be the cheapest way to get into Priority Pass. But if you want to be able to have lounge access, also get yourself authorized users to have lounge access, and then be able to have your first step into luxury travel credit cards, the cheapest way and also the easiest way to offset the annual fee is going to end up being the Venture X card. Now, as I said, I'm going to make some videos going over it, but to do my my classes with Cheap Travel Knowledge, we're usually going to start off with a card, start off more basic, and then get a little bit more advanced. Now, if you happen to not have the Venture X card, like I said on the top of this video, if you want to get yourself the elevated offer, there ends up being a 90K offer. You have to actually use a referral link to get yourself 90K. I have one that should be in the description box here. I will, if you don't see it on mine, check out someone else's referral link. But you want to get yourself the top level referral link out there. Check out Matt's or Chad's. I don't know if either of you guys actually have this card, but if either of them have this card and you can't find my referral link, check out one of theirs to make sure you get the 90K and to also help out these other content creators. So let's see what he said. What's up, Jake? Hey, what's going on? It's definitely yes. I mean, I'm gonna have to look into Turkish Airlines for going over to Mexico. Mexico, it can actually be a little bit of a distance depending on what part I want to go to from Los Angeles. So I guess I haven't really looked as much into how much value I can have getting that. But if you come from New York, if you come from Seattle, it's way more a time span of actually getting down there. So yeah, it can make a lot of sense. But yes, Venture X card ends up being a great card. Alrighty. How's the Alaskan Airlines credit card? I actually have a video that I just edited. I uploaded. I got to make the thumbnail, but I go over Alaskan Airlines as a program. Alaskan Airlines is one of the most underrated one of the most underrated programs out there. The card itself is so if you had it before, you automatically got the companion pass. So if you happen to be someone who has a companion, you get yourself great value taking advantage of that. But now you actually have to have a spend amount to actually get yourself the companion pass. So you have to determine whether or not that's going to make sense for you. Alaska Miles as a whole end up being pretty strong ones. The reason why they're not talked about as much is because they're connected with Bank of America. So they're not connected with some of the bigger banks out there, such as Chase, American Express. You can't transfer over points over to this program. And and I think that a lot of people, when they actually end up seeing Alaskan Airlines, they think, is it only fly to Alaska? Is it only on the West Coast? People are in New York. People are in Florida. They're not even thinking about how they can take advantage of this program. But the program has many awesome sweet spots that you actually can take advantage of. They have this free stopover that you can end up using. One that I'm actually using for next year, going over to Sydney, Australia. I'm going to be flying from LA over to Fiji, staying in Fiji. And the cool thing about the stopover is that it has to be within the same region, but you can stay there for like a super extended amount of time. So if you want to stay there for like weeks, you can. So you can become, if you get savvy with it, you can actually get some really cool itineraries, making sure you're taking advantage of this free stopover. But then after that, I'm going to fly over to Sydney, Australia. The first from LAX over to Fiji ends up being 55,000 Alaskan Airlines miles in business class with Fiji Airways. Then going from Fiji over to Sydney, Australia ends up being 0 additional miles. And that's also in business class. So Alaskan Airlines, I would say at least just check out getting yourself the sign-up bonus with the card. Definitely, if you want to try to stay under Chase 524, they have business credit cards out there. So get the business credit card. Actually, I think the personal card has a higher current welcome offer, but if you're just taking into consideration your Chase 524, but I highly recommend Alaskan Airlines miles. The way I was actually able to fly with Japan Airlines in first class earlier this year was using Alaskan Airlines miles. There's a lot of great sweet spots with their program. I can't go over all of them in this video currently today, but I would highly recommend trying to acquire some of their miles. Let's see. So yeah, they nerfed the companion pass. Yes. So yeah, the companion pass has definitely been hurt. Oh, I gotta scroll up. So yeah. Do I have the Alaskan Airlines card? Is that where we actually met? So I don't currently have. I actually have the business card. I canceled my my personal card with Alaskan Airlines, but yeah. So I don't currently have but I have the business card. Actually, the business card, it doesn't actually Chase 524. You can rack up a bunch of miles with them. I recommend to people to be able to do that. Alaskan is the best. 70K miles for Cathay Pacific, lay flat. Exactly. There ends up being just like so many great sweet spots. They had I forget which one they ended up releasing, but yes, like there's ends up just being a ton of different spots you can end up taking advantage of it, and people just aren't thinking about it because it's not connected with one of the bigger banks to be able to do with the transfer partners. So because of that, people don't talk about it, but that's one of those little, I'm not gonna say it's a secret, but it ends up being one of those that if you can take advantage of it, you can be someone who can get themselves a lot of good value. Actually, one of them I did for the video, and I'll just reveal it right here. It was using Alaskan Airlines. If you want to fly down to South America, so I know actually Matt was saying earlier go to Mexico, but South America, you can go from Boston to Brazil for 45,000 miles in business class. If you end up looking at that's like overnight, it's like a 9-hour flight. So people like to look at cents per point, which is important, but there's also like how many miles are you spending per hour or something that another content creator has been going over. So this ends up being not that many miles to be able to fly for a lot of hours in business class. So there ends up just being a lot of cool sweet spots with Alaskan Airlines. But as we actually went into that, so yes, VentureX, I know we went a little sidetrack, but VentureX is not a program that transfers to Alaska, but it is a program that has a number of good transfer partners that connect with them. And then one of the cool things ends up being just being able to take advantage of transfer bonuses. So transfer bonuses, for those of you who haven't really taken advantage of transferring over to partners, is you'll end up seeing where if you transfer over to a certain program, you can get yourself an additional 15, 25, 30, maybe even more percentage in your points when transferring over to that program. There's been a number of them that are going on throughout this year. Some of the more highlighted ones is if anyone actually happens to be connected with Bilt Rewards, they had a 100% transfer bonus to KLM Flying Blue and Air France, which is actually something that I took advantage of with my Bilt Reward points. And then also they actually had one with Virgin Atlantic that was 100, and then over 100. I can't remember. You had to be a certain level of like when it comes to the status with Bilt Rewards to get yourself over 100% points with a transfer bonus to Virgin Atlantic. And I actually just took advantage of the sweet spot with Virgin Atlantic, not from this transfer bonus, but one of the best sweet spots out there, which ends up being able to fly ANA first class. And it's not even that many miles people actually end up looking at what it ends up to actually be able to fly it. So looking at transfer bonuses ends up actually being, and taking advantage of transfer bonuses ends up being a key way to use your miles and to get yourself great value, but not have to use the top tier amount of miles. Because like one of the things that I'm able to do when I'm actually going and traveling around is not only am I able to acquire a lot of miles, but I also know how to not use the most amount of miles to actually be able to take some of these incredible trips. Because there are ways, if you end up looking at things that are like dynamic pricing out there, where you can use all of your miles for this flight. If you want to, with Air France, there's times you can end up using, literally like 300 to maybe 400 or 500 Air France miles to fly a business class flight from France over to Los Angeles. But then also you can find it where it can end up being somewhere near like even like 65,000 if you're going like maybe all the way to Los Angeles. That ends up being with KLM, or it can end up being like 80,000 on Air France. So if you can take advantage of these transfer bonuses, you can make it even cheaper, which ends up just being incredible. So transfer bonuses are one thing that you really, really want to look into. You don't want to transfer speculatively, but you want to eye those. And then when you actually end up seeing them, start to look at what type of awards you can end up booking with those specific programs. Now, the reason why I brought that up is because if you happen to only have American Express and you're looking to try to take advantage of transfer bonuses because you want to transfer over to a certain program, well, there may not be the transfer bonus at the time you're looking to make that booking. But if you happen to have American Express and Chase and Capital One, then and Citi, then you can end up going, oh, wait a minute, I want to try to fly over to Tokyo. Now, actually, I'm seeing a transfer bonus currently going on with Chase that has 30% with Virgin Atlantic. If I can find the sweet spot to get myself either the business class with ANA or the first class with the ANA suites, I can take advantage of this for 30% less because of the fact that I get to take advantage of this transfer bonus. So this is the reason why you're going to want to diversify your points and make sure that you have many different options out there. So Capital One's going to have times where they have transfer bonuses to programs. Citi's going to have times they're going to have transfer bonuses to programs. I've noticed that American Express tends to have the most, but you always want to be able to have the opportunity. That's the reason why you always want to have some miles or some points in these different transferable currencies to be able to take advantage of these different bonuses and sweet spots when you're ready to make your booking. I'm just going to quickly look at some of the things that are written here. What's going on, PG? I'm a JetBlue guy. Any crazy redemptions using them? So no. So the thing about JetBlue is they actually end up using dynamic pricing. So as I kind of talked about a little bit in here, and if you already maybe know, dynamic pricing ends up meaning that you're going to always be able to use your JetBlue miles for JetBlue flights. However, it's going to fluctuate based off of what the actual price of the JetBlue ticket cost is. So if, just for a basic example, if the JetBlue flight ends up being $1,000, it's going to end up being 100,000 points. But if the flight drops down to being $500, it's going to end up being 50,000 points. So some people like this because they can always use their points and miles. But if you look at a program like Hyatt, where you're not always going to have availability, but if you find a category 4 where it ends up being 15,000 points, I guess at peak it end up being 18,000 points. The most can end up being 18,000 points. If it ends up being a hotel that costs $300 that week, it's going to end up being 18,000 points. But if all of a sudden, I don't know, Taylor Swift goes in and has a concert that exact same week and they jack up the prices to being $800 a night, it's still only going to end up being 18,000 points. So you can actually end up getting yourself incredible value with that if you end up actually finding things that have award charts as compared to dynamic pricing. So that ends up being one of the downsides when it comes to JetBlue. However, the good thing about it is that there's a few different tricks you actually can do with JetBlue. I'm not sure which card you have, but if you actually fly JetBlue a lot, I would recommend looking at getting yourself the business card with JetBlue. Because one of the things about the business card with JetBlue is this is at least the only one that I've seen that gives you priority boarding. You end up being Group A. So if you actually end up getting yourself the JetBlue business card, you're going to be like the first one on the plane, even if you end up getting yourself just like a regular economy seat. So you can end up making sure that you end up getting priority boarding. You can put in all of your stuff at the top. You don't ever have to worry about that. So you end up getting priority boarding and the ability to check bags if that's something you want to do. So the JetBlue business credit card, I think, actually has some really cool abilities. It doesn't give you the full level of status, but it's very, very close. We actually end up looking at like what you end up getting for Mosaic status with JetBlue, like not like the toppest tier, but some of the lower levels. Yes, you can get a few more things that are better, but the JetBlue business card for $99, I believe is what it is. You get 5,000 points, and then you also get Group A boarding each year. That's something that if you were a JetBlue guy, check out that card. It definitely ends up making sense. I think that even if you end up getting 5,000 points, say you just equal it out as 1 cent equaling 1 point, to get priority boarding, if you fly consistently with them for $50, Group A, you have to determine whether or not that makes sense for you. But even for myself, who flies JetBlue, the majority of the time when I go back home to Mass, that's something that I would say is worth looking into getting. Let's see, build transfer bonus can be huge. Yes, build transfer bonus, you're right, Matt. It can end up being like, I don't have a ton of build points, and I've been getting them thanks to people using my referral link. So I really appreciate everyone who's been using them for the videos I've been making. Yes, Built Rewards has had many different opportunities to just get yourself high global status if you take advantage of it. They just had something where you could go to a football game in the suites if you took advantage of just being a part of the program. So there's a lot of opportunity with Built Rewards. At some point, I am going to have to hop on getting actually the physical card. It doesn't make any sense at this moment during my credit card journey and what I'm looking to try to do. But the more I look into the program, the more I think this program ends up just being a really good one, especially if you could take advantage of the rent payment. Let's see. I'm just gonna read a little more here. What's the maximum number of recent new accounts, hard pulls one should have before applying? So when it comes to that's a good question. So just giving you data points for myself, I would say that can I shout out? Can I get a shout out, please? So when it comes to myself, I've gotten 3 new personal cards this year. Sorry. What's going on, dude? Give you a shout out. I've got myself 3 new personal cards this year. And oh shoot, what's going on, Chad? Thank you so much. This is my first super chat I've ever received. I appreciate that. Wow. Yeah, thank you. Honestly, yes. I mean, I was gonna do some of these videos just as a recorded and then edit it, but when I watched your video and you just said live streams are better, and I go, you know what, they are better. You get more of an understanding of the person, more of an understanding of what this person actually really knows, and as compared to what they're just reading. So you convinced me for a few things. I don't know if you even realize that, but you've convinced me to book the Manfredi out in Rome, and you convinced me to just do this live stream. So I watch your content. I need to comment more on people's stuff. A lot of times I'll watch people's things and I'll like pretty much everyone's videos, but I don't comment enough on people's things. And I do see other people commenting. I just always want to be able to add something when I'm commenting. But thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. Yes, and it was great meeting you in Vegas. So where was I talking about earlier? The new accounts. So for the Capital One card. So I've opened up a number of business cards. I don't know what number of business cards I've actually gotten this year. But when it comes to personal cards, I've gotten 3 personal cards this year. And the last personal card that I got was in June. So yeah, the thing about the Capital One Venture X card, as I said at the top of this video, I've actually been denied for this card twice already. So when this card first came out at 100,000 point sign-up bonus, I was reading about all the different benefits you get from it. I'm like, this seems like a no-brainer. Applied for it, denied for it. Okay? I applied for the card again last year. It was that 75,000 point sign-up bonus. All right, I still think that it's worth getting. Applied for it, again, denied for it. They told me the reasons were too many new lines of credit the first time, and then which actually could have been true, and then too many hard inquiries, which also actually could have been true. But funny enough, I feel like I have just as many new lines of credit and also just as many hard inquiries right now. So a lot of the times those things that you end up getting in the mail that tells you the reason ends up just being made up things that they say. So I would just say take the risk, apply for the card. It obviously is good to have data points to see whether or not you are going to get approved for the card, just the probability. But for me, I thought the probability wasn't great, but I just said, well, worst comes to worst, I'm just not going to get the card. This is one that I want, so might as well add it to my wallet. But yeah, when it comes to inquiries, I have a ton of inquiries because I apply for a decent amount of cards. But when it comes to new lines of credit, I have 3 new lines of credit before this, so this is technically going to be my 4th personal card that I've gotten this year. Hopefully that helps you out. So let's see. All right. Thanks for that. Yeah, no problem. Oh, I don't know why it just popped up over here. What's going on, Cesar? How you doing, man? All righty. Just reading you guys' comments before I move on. Cool. Alrighty, so the next thing I wanted to go over in the class, so after we went over the Venture X cards, this ends up being more basic. These are things that obviously you can end up reading up pretty easy to understand this card. I gave some things about like the different transfer partners that end up being better about the program. But next I want to get into with the class would actually end up being looking into transfer partners. So we talked about a little bit about how you can take advantage of Turkish Airlines, but not just the transfer partners, but the partnerships within these programs. So I know that actually Chad is in this chat right now, and he's actually made a video talking about Star Alliance and One World. I think he's actually done all of them: Star Alliance, One World, and SkyTeam. If you haven't watched that video, please watch that video. It is very, very important to understand the partnerships with these programs if you actually want to get yourself great value for your points, because that ends up being, in most cases, the way to get yourself incredible value for your points. So today we're going to talk a little bit about just the Star Alliance program. I just want people to understand like how you can actually end up taking advantage of it. So Star Alliance is going to be one of the big 3. There is Star Alliance, One World, and SkyTeam. These ones are going to have major airlines that are connected with them. If you end up looking at Star Alliance, you have United. If you end up looking at One World, you have American Airlines. And if you end up looking at SkyTeam, you have Delta. But with these different alliances, there ends up being a number of different other airlines that are partnered with them, that if you actually end up having points or miles, you can end up taking advantage of the different sweet spots with these programs. So yes, can you end up using United miles to fly on United? You can. But if you actually end up taking advantage of some of the partner programs that are connected with them, within Star Alliance, you can use something, for instance, like Avianca, to be able to take advantage of business class flights to go over to Europe on United Airlines. So while you're actually using Avianca, which I believe is a Colombian airline, you are using their miles, but you're going to be flying on United's airlines. So instead of having to pay, I don't know what United even devalued it to, because they had that devaluation, they moved it back. So I can't remember exactly what the new pricing is. But instead of having to pay whatever the new ridiculously high pricing is to fly in business class on United, you can find availability, if it ends up being save reward availability, to fly using Avianca, to fly using Air Canada. There ends up being a number of different partners that you can end up using to get a significantly less amount of points that's going to be needed to do the exact same flight. So this is the reason why you want to take advantage of all the different programs that are going to allow you to transfer over all these other programs. So while I have the Venture X card and I'm like, oh my goodness, I get to use Turkish Airlines Miles and Smiles. Yes, I get to use it with Turkish, but Turkish is also part of the Star Alliance. So I can be able to use that to take advantage of the same exact partners. If Turkish ends up having the award availability with United, I can use Turkish Airlines Miles and Smiles to fly on a United flight. Now, I think Turkish, actually, I've done both business class in Turkish and with United. I think Turkish is going to end up being better, so I don't know why I would want to do that. But for whatever reason that it ends up being just like a better use, then can I be chat mod? Sure. I actually don't know exactly how do I, add as moderator. Okay, cool. I'll just do you as a standard moderator. I'll do that. Cool. Sorry, I'm newer to the live stream, so I just added you as a moderator. Hopefully I did the right thing. I don't even know who you are. Do I know who you are? Benjamin. Okay. Yes, you're now a moderator. So just because you asked, I'll let you do it. Hopefully you don't delete everyone or do something crazy, but I figure the fact that you asked, maybe you're going to want to do good things. But anyway, so going back to the point. So now that I actually have the Venture X card, I can take more advantage of other programs and the sweet spots with them. So this is the reason why you actually really want to look into the different alliances that are out there. So if you happen to be wanting to know, okay, well, which alliances are there? Or what is the different sweet spots? I don't actually have every single one of them memorized. There's just too many different sweet spots out there. But you can always look at something that, I think it's like upgrade points, or a lot of times the points guy will have it. I think Frequent Miler. There's all these different websites will actually let you know where the best when it comes to taking advantage of the sweet spots with the programs. So once you actually understand those, then you can start to go, okay, cool. Let me try to find award availability that ends up being Save Award availability. And then when I actually end up finding that, then what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to try to find the best program to get over to that destination. So that's the way you're going to be able to take advantage of the different partner programs. So yeah, like I said, you can use Air Canada, you can use Avianca. These will end up being great to fly with United instead of actually just needing to fly United itself. So anyone who, again, this is going to be more like this isn't beginner level. This ends up being more next, I would say, like medium level when it comes to understanding the points miles game. But you do need to do your best to understand just the partners themselves. You don't even need to know all the different sweet spots and even how to find like the exact award availability yet, but just studying the transfer partners just to know, okay, cool, which program I want to use if I want to fly with Star Alliance to try to get over to this destination, try to fly with you One World. If you see in how it should go, it isn't always this going to be the case, but it should end up being that if you see award availability that ends up being Save Award availability with one program, it should end up being available on all the different ones. And sometimes it can end up being like either it's Phantom Award, which I hope it isn't that, or it can end up being that for some reason it doesn't end up showing on this website. You might need to call. But what you're gonna end up getting is that if you find award availability with the different with one specific program, then you can say, okay, cool. Now I can use for instance, okay, if you happen to have American Express membership award points, you are actually going to be able to pretty much fly with any of the airlines, even though American Express is only partnered with SkyTeam Delta, because of the fact that they are also partnered with British Airways, which ends up being One World, which allows you to actually be able to, yes, thank you. I've got a lot of airline shirts I'm going to be wearing in my videos, but you'll be able to, oops, I think not charging. Sorry, I just realized my charger's not fully in, so I got to push that down real quick. Get me a charger, and I'm back. Cool. To fly with, if you want to fly with One World and you're like, okay, I want to fly with American Airlines using American Express, you can do that by just going and taking advantage of the One World partners that are connected with American Express. So you end up looking at British Airways, you end up looking at Iberia. These end up being ways you can actually end up flying on American Airlines aircraft without actually having American Airlines miles. So this is actually something that I took advantage of that I'm going to be doing next year. I'm going home to Boston and I'm going to be flying in American Airlines first class because I am transferring over my membership award points over to British Airways to book a first class flight with American Airlines. Now, the value actually isn't going to be as good as compared to just using American Airlines miles themselves for this specific reward redemption. However, I did it during a 30% transfer bonus. So it ends up being very, very, very close. And I can rack up membership reward points significantly easier than I can American Airlines miles. So that's the reason why I end up doing that. If you are someone who wants to fly over to Japan and you're looking to try to get yourself Japan Airlines business class flight, you can end up looking up a Japan Airlines business class flight that would actually end up costing, with American Airlines, 60,000 miles. You should be able to find that same one with British Airways for it ends up being something like 70, I think it's 77,000, maybe a little over 77,000 miles. But if you actually end up taking advantage of the transfer partners, then you're actually going to be able to, or the transfer bonus, then you're actually going to be able to bring it down. Now, British Airways is going to add more taxes and fees. There are going to be more things that are going to be more, I guess, more complicated aspects to this that I'm not fully going into. But just as a whole, know that you are going to be able to have availability to these different things. It may not be at the best value, but you are going to have availability to some of these things. And sometimes when it comes to just like when they actually end up even opening up award availability, British Airways opens up award availability with the partner programs to be able to book with the partner programs earlier than American Airlines does. So even though American Airlines actually has better prices, people might book up the different seats with British Airways miles for these exact same seats because of the fact that, if we're talking about with going Japan Airlines, because of the fact that you have the availability sooner with something like British Airways. So these are all things that need to be taken into consideration depending on how many miles you actually are earning, how quickly you can end up earning them, and then learning how to just the different partners that connect with them. So I'm just going to scroll up a little bit, see what some people are saying. Okay. Cool. Gee. Yeah, Cesar. Yeah, learning the alliances is that's just you don't have to learn. The hardest part is going to end up being, I think, like more the most advanced. One of the most advanced is knowing the exact sweet spots and then actually how to find the availability for them. But just learning the different partners, and then going, okay, great, I can actually now fly on pretty much any airline I want to. Not every airline, but the vast majority of airlines, even just with one program. But so if you happen to have like American Express membership reward points, but if you happen to have more points with more programs, you're just going to have more opportunity to take advantage of the different sweet spots. But just learning the different alliances allows you to know you don't have to be worried about not having the opportunity to be able to fly with them. All right, guys, hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much, Benjamin. Benjamin, you're awesome. You're the best moderator ever. And like, thank you, Benjamin. Love the shirt. Yeah. Yes, they're pros. No, it's booking American Airlines through British Airways. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, booking American Airlines through British Airways ends up being a great way to take advantage of getting American Airlines flights if you want to, especially if you have a hard time getting American Airlines miles. American Airlines miles are going to be harder because other than built rewards, I mean, if people have a lot of rent and you can transfer over there that way, you can do it. But if you happen to be a lower spender, it's going to end up becoming hard to rack up a ton of American Airlines miles as compared to other programs. So that's something about like American Airlines miles, Alaskan Airlines miles, these two programs, while they have great sweet spots, unless you are a high spender, it's going to be really difficult to rack up a ton. There are tricks out there that you can do, but as a whole, yeah. If you have $500, because that's how much first class is, $500 for, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Benjamin, but $500 for a first class. Do you mean like regular domestic first class, or like, because they have a flagship first? If you're talking about American Airlines, they have a flagship first, which is actually going to be the one I'm flying. So it's not just like the regular domestic first class. It's going to have a lay flat seat. It's going to have, there's actually a business class in this domestic transcontinental flight. So it actually ends up being pretty cool. I'm excited to do it. There's a flagship lounge here in Los Angeles that I want to go into, although I did hear that like the best part, like the dining hasn't reopened, unfortunately. I guess they're just not going to reopen it. But it's something that I want to do, something I can get content for, and something that, yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm just going to read some of the more comments on here. It's a great live. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Um, Very informative. Thank you. Appreciate that. Great, JP. Uh, okay, so I guess JG got timed out. Oh, I don't know why. Let's see. It's the easiest way American Airlines to book partner flights that has the most availability. Um, the most availability, it should be the same with partners. The partners aren't going to have more. Oh, I guess sometimes they do with some programs, but it's I think that's rare. What's going to end up being is that as long as you end up looking for partners, like if you end up looking through Iberia and British Airways for American Airlines flights, that should end up being like the same. For sometimes the taxes and fees can end up being different, so that's something you gotta like look at. But the availability, it's how these programs work is that they release availability to their partners a certain amounts. They might go, we're going to lease 2 business class seats, 1 first class seat. So when they do that, they release it so that it's going to be open. Let's just use, for example, like with Star Alliance, if they release it with United, it's going to be open with Air Canada. It's going to be open with Avianca. It's going to be open with Turkish Airlines. You're going to be able to look at all the different programs and see that it's open. The difference is, though, between this is that there's going to end up being different price points. Some of them are going to have more taxes and fees. Some of them are going to have more miles. And then some are going to have the right sweet spot of both of those things combined, where it ends up being not too high of taxes and fees, but also the lowest amount of like miles. Because, yeah, you might be able to book like with like ANA, for instance, connected with United, but the taxes and fees could end up being just hundreds of dollars, not even worth your time. So, but some programs, when it comes to availability, they might open it up soon or open it up like farther out. Because I think that American Airlines ends up doing it like 10 months, whereas with British Airways, you can get it. And I think it ends up being somewhere near like 3 weeks more. You can actually end up looking with British Airways as compared to with American Airlines, where you actually end up looking at partner awards through the 2 different websites. American Airlines only goes a certain amount of months on their award calendar. Now, the thing about it is American Airlines, fortunately, like being in America or just the American websites, they're way easier to actually find award availability with. So that's something that I'll go into next. That's going to be like the more advanced thing is actually like looking at how to actually find the award availability. But the British Airways, while it actually has more space you can end up seeing, you can only see like 3 days at a time. And technically only really looking at like 1 day, and it kind of shows the other 2. It's a pain in the butt to find availability on their website as compared to American Airlines, just has an award calendar where you can actually very easily find availability. What's going on, William? Let's see what's going on here. Unknown, hello, unknown, easiest way. Let's see. Shout out. Corona, what's up? Don't hit the button, hit this. Okay, cool. American Airlines. Okay, good info. Thank you. I really appreciate that. David JP, did you book your JL first last minute or far in advance? Actually, yeah. So the JL one that I booked for first class, I booked that very far in advance. I booked that, funny enough, I actually had the availability to book first class both ways. And for content for YouTube, I go, you know what? I want to see what it's like doing economy there and then business class, or sorry, first class back. Because I booked it in I feel like it was like August of the year before, and Japan wasn't even open for Americans to even come visit. I don't think they were open to pretty much like the vast majority of the world. But in my mind, I was like, okay, I want to go to Japan for my birthday. My feeling is that Japan's going to end up being open at this time. I don't see why they're going to still end up being closed. So I'm just going to book it this far in advance. And then I forget when it was, like December-ish or maybe like November, they opened up to the rest of the other countries. So I was like, cool. And then I just seen the award space just start to vanish right after that. So yeah, the best way to find award availability is going to be super far in advance. You're going to want to look 10, 11 months in advance for your award availability. There also is that when it comes to like really close towards the deadline, like currently I'm trying to help someone go to Korea during Christmas time. There's like no business class award availability. So I'm like, we're just gonna have to wait until, and the person's schedule is pretty lenient, but I just want to go before Christmas. So I'm like, we're just gonna have to wait until we get closer to the date, because what ends up happening is that there are some people who book a ton of flights, whether it be just because they're doing it just because they want the opportunity to be able to book them, or because they want, there's things called like points brokers who are booking these things and then reselling these flights to other people. So they end up booking up a ton of flights, and then a lot of the awarded space ends up being gone, but then people actually end up canceling as they end up getting closer to the date. So whether it's the point bookers or people who are just booking 4 different days, figuring out which day was the best that actually ended up working out for them, and then actually ended up like going, okay, I'm gonna leave on the Wednesday. So even though I booked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm gonna cancel on Monday, Tuesday. Monday, Tuesday ends up coming back into being into the website, so you can actually someone else can book it. So that's the reason why as you get closer to the dates, a lot of times award space will end up opening up as well. Plus, some programs will actually just open up award space for partner programs closer to the date. Like Lufthansa is one of those that actually likes to do that. So let's see. I'm just gonna look at some of the things. Next time you're in Vegas, look me up. Cool, we'll do that. This channel, JP. If I was to book the Maldives, so the way to book the Maldives is going to end up being, excuse me, probably Qatar Q Suites, because you can do it for 70,000 American Airlines miles. So get yourself some American Airlines miles. Qatar Q Suites is considered to be, I mean, I guess it's up in the air now between A&A business class with the room, and then Qatar Q Suites to be which one's the best business class in the world. That's like almost feels like a first class, but that's gonna be the best way to get out there. So I don't know if necessarily the best, but maybe like the most affordable when it comes to the amount of miles it's going to ask for, but also the like experience as well. Qatar Q Suites is something that the top people who have a lot of miles are just like, I want to fly Qatar Q Suites because they end up getting great value for an awesome experience. Can I pick some chat mods? Sure, yeah. Okay, cool. JP, what equipment you are using for this live? I'm just using my phone. I'm using YouTube. I just clicked on live. Anthony told me a few things kind of what to do beforehand to try to make it so that I have, there should be like a thumbnail that at least actually has like my website at Cheap Travel Knowledge. So for those of you actually are newer here, I did a live yesterday where I was going over my new business that, or actually the business I've been doing, but I just finally launched the website where I'm going to have different things where I can help people with, I'm going to like assist with bookings. I'm going to have a Patreon where we're going to be doing classes similar to like this, where I'm going to be going over cards, doing more beginner level stuff and to start off, and then going into different alliances, and that's going to be like more medium, and then kind of trying to end off with more advanced things. So that's going to be on my Patreon. If you want to sign up for the Patreon, that actually end up being great. I am going to be doing the Patreon classes for free on YouTube for the next few weeks. And then it's going to end up being through Zoom, where you're going to be able to communicate with me, ask me questions, like without just needing to write, but just physically talk to me and getting more one-on-one. Now, as I said last night, I'm going to imagine that very few people are going to be starting off, are going to be joining my Patreon in the beginning. So if you're someone who really wants to learn this stuff and wants to get one-on-one with me, we're going to be doing weekly classes. There's going to be 1 week off in the month that we're not going to be doing, but mostly weekly classes. And if there's only just a couple people in the class, yes, we're going to go over cards and do different help. I'm going to help you guys learn and have like a curriculum for the class. But then at the end, I'm going to have questions. I'm going to allow people to ask questions. And if you're just like, help me find award availability and we have time within the class, I'll be able to do that. So there's going to be, if you're someone who's going to be like one of the first people who jumps in the class, I am going to be able to give you a lot of value if you're someone who is newer into this game or who's trying to find how to book like a specific type of flight or redemption that you want to do. So I would definitely say that hop onto the Patreon, check it out. You can check it. You can find it on the website. It's going to have the different things, or if you wanted a consultation there, I can help you learn which type of points you're going to need to, just to be able to do the type of redemption, or just how to get yourself more points. But then there ends up being the Patreon and also the assisted bookings. So it's for all different levels. And I'm always going to have the free content as well on YouTube. And I'm going to be constantly keep on posting things on here. But definitely check out the website, cheaptravelknowledge.com. And then if you want to, you can sign up for the Patreon. It is going to be like the information I'm going to be giving is going to end up being just through this class on YouTube for the next few weeks. But also when you actually do sign up for the Patreon, I'm going to be giving people, after they sign up, a consultation to begin, and then you're also going to get a consultation for 15 minutes every single month after that. So I just get to connect with the person, see where you are in your credit card journey. So you actually get to what are you saying? Can I pick someone else? Yes, you can go ahead and pick someone else. Absolutely, Benjamin. I don't know if you need me to do something for you to be able to do that, but you can go ahead and pick someone. I really appreciate it. You did a great job. And then where was I at? Yeah, so I'll be able to listen to you with your credit card journey and then be able to assist you with that. So I want to be able to do that every single month with people. So if you're someone who signs up, I'm going to make sure that I will be connecting with you every single month, hear what your troubles you're getting into or anything like that, and give you my best advice for a monthly meeting. So that's also something you're going to be getting from the Patreon. So I think that early adopters to the Patreon are definitely going to get themselves a really good amount of value. So if you're someone who is trying to get themselves good value, newer into this, and wants to try to figure out how they can actually end up being or just how to be able to take a really cool flight, stay at an awesome hotel, I'm going to be the one to be able to assist you with that. Let's see. Okay, so thank you for answering. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Says, actually, hold on, I got to go back. So Boston flight, JP. What equipment are you using for this? I just answered that. You can book Guitar Q Suites with City Points, Amex as well, right? Yes, you could do that. I think that like the taxes and the fees end up being worse. I have to look to see exactly what it is. I know that the best option is American Airlines when it comes to just like the cost, with like miles and taxes and fees. But there is going to be the option and probably also going to be more award availability with Qatar. Let's see. Thank you for answering it. Let's see. What's going on? Cool. People are chatting. Same here. Okay, cool. So now they did that, I'm just going to go a little bit more into like, I guess, somewhat more of the advanced. So as you actually start to realize what the different programs are partnered with other different programs, then what you're going to want to do is look for award availability. And the way you're going to want to do that is you have to find the websites that end up being the easiest to find it. So this was like earlier on, as I said, Turkish Airlines, awesome program when it comes to how you can end up redeeming the points. When it comes to their website, it is so frustrating. It is so frustrating. There ends up being an issue with your password all the time. There ends up being errors. There ends up being a lot of different things that's going to drive you crazy with the website. But that's something that you're going to have to, if you want to actually redeem Turkish miles specifically with Turkish, specifically with their partners, then you're going to have to learn how to use their website. But to find award availability, you don't actually have to use Turkish Airlines unless it's for a Turkish flight with Turkish Airlines. What you're going to want to do is there's going to be different programs to find award availability for a lot of these different partners. So with something like Star Alliance, the best one to be able to use can end up being using United. Now, United, the reason why is because they have an award calendar. The problem with a lot of these foreign airlines, when you end up going to their websites, is that there's no award calendar. So you actually end up going onto these websites and you have to do like either day by day or you get maybe a few days, and it can take you forever to actually find award availability. So there are programs out there, some of them paid for, that can help make this speed up the process. But I recommend that people learn the fundamentals first before you end up even looking to try to use some of these programs, because they're just going to be way too confusing if you don't even just understand the basic fundamentals. So United ends up being great to find award availability for the different Star Alliance partners. So as I kind of said, like one of the things that I was able to do is I looked on United and I realized that there actually ended up being Save Award availability. And then I saw it through ANA to fly over to Japan. So I was able to find ANA availability over to Japan. ANA is partnered in the Star Alliance, but at the same time, ANA actually has other partners outside of them. So what I was able to do is look on Virgin Atlantic to find these suites for a first class flight over to Japan. So this ends up being an incredible sweet spot. In fact, if you actually end up looking at the people saying like, what's the holy grail of like points and miles, or one of like the best things you can end up doing for flights, it ends up being finding this Virgin Atlantic sweet spot through ANA. But you usually have to find the availability when it comes to United. So this is like more advanced things. As I said, as how the class is going to go, we're going to do some basic, some medium, and this is going to be more advanced. The more advanced things ends up being just finding the availability with other programs, calendars, and this is how you're going to be able to do it. With like One World, you can end up looking at American Airlines is a very easy calendar as well. Again, it's not always going to be 100% that this is going to give you all the availability, but it's going to give you a lot of the information. So That's how you're going to want to actually end up doing just the basic level, not basic level. That's how you're going to end up doing the advanced level of finding the award availability with actually taking advantage of the partners. You don't want to go through one by one using these other partner programs websites. You want to look at the ones that actually end up being the easiest to use, easiest to find availability with, and then from there you can actually end up booking with them. Yes, thank you. I appreciate it, PG. Yeah, I mean, this is what we're going to be doing in the class. So people who actually are going to join the Patreon, this is how the class is going to be going, except for I'm going to be taking more questions like at the end. It's going to be more of me just kind of shuffling through the different things I actually have set up for the curriculum. But I want to share this information with people, and I know that there's people who want to learn it. And there's also a lot of people who, this is the reason I have the assisted booking as well, who don't want to learn this stuff. There's other people who just go, listen, I spend $30,000 when it comes to my personal cards and my business cards every single month. I rack up hundreds of thousands of points, and I have millions of points currently saved up. I have no idea how to get me and my spouse a business class flight over to Europe without spending all these miles on this exact flight. This is the reason why I have the assisted bookings as well, because I understand that there are people who may want that instead. But if you're someone who wants to learn this information, you can either join the Patreon. We're going to be able to have sessions like this, or I'm always going to have the free content on YouTube. There's also a lot of other great content creators. Some of you in this chat right now, such as Chad Many Minutes, such as Cesar is also in this. Matt was in this earlier as well. So there's going to be different options out there for people. But thank you. I appreciate you saying that, PG. But yeah, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to play around with these programs' websites. This is how you actually end up figuring out how to find availability. So playing around with them, and then when you actually end up seeing how you can find save reward availability with partners, you'll actually end up seeing, like, for instance, I was looking for one. I don't even know if the person's even still in the chat, but there was a few questions asked last night about going over to a few different places. One of them was to go over to Australia, and then also, it was Australia, but there also was the Philippines. So to get over the Philippines is actually, I looked it up. I didn't have a ton of time to be able to look it up today, but because I had to work for the majority of today, but I tried to look up to see what type of availability I could find. And I found that if you there's availability to get over to Tokyo. So if you get over to Tokyo, you can start from there and then use Tokyo as a jump off point to get over to the Philippines. Now, you can technically just get directly over to the Philippines through United. I found it almost impossible to find award availability that isn't just astronomically high. There is ways you can end up doing it for a little bit cheaper, where you can stop over, I think it's in Taipei, and then you can do it all in business class for 110,000 miles on United's website. I don't want to flip this over because the other side of the screen is a little bit dirty, so I'll just grab this and kind of just pull this over here. But you can actually end up seeing that, there's ways you can end up having 110,000 miles. That could be a way to get over to the Philippines. So I forget who asked yesterday about that, but if you happen to be in the chat right now, how to get over to the Philippines actually ends up being a way to do it just from that. But say you happen to not have United miles, you can actually end up getting over to, or I guess, Chase Ultimate Reward Points, and you happen to have American Express membership reward points. There's going to be other ways to do it. You just have to look at how to get over to destinations that also fly there. So it is going to be hard to get to somewhere like the Philippines just direct. You have United, which in very, very few destinations actually does it. And then you also actually have Philippine Airways or Airlines, I can't remember which one it is, which is actually partnered up with ANA, but the availability to find is ANA's website is going to make it harder to find. It's just going to be really difficult to find availability. Not saying it's impossible, but it's just going to be very, very difficult. But there can end up being ways, like right now I'm going to pull up, I saw there was availability for Japan Airlines business class flight. Sorry, the whole thing had to reload since I've been doing this thing, but there was a Japan Airlines business class flight going, let's see, so you would actually get over to Haneda one way, and you're gonna be able to see here in just one moment after it ends up loading that. Alrighty, so sorry, it's still loading. I have an older computer that I do need to update. I need to be like Spencer and use a lot of my Chase Ultimate Reward points in here. But you'll see right here, it's 60,000 points if you actually want to do a business class flight over to Tokyo, and then from Tokyo you can use your miles to be able to fly. If you wanted to, you could end up using either yes, you can. So you can end up using your miles to get over here, and then you would use more miles to get over to the Philippines. Now, 60,000. If you happen to be someone, I don't think the person yesterday was saying that they happen to have American Airlines miles, but this award availability is going to be open on British Airways. It is going to cost more, but if you can take advantage of the transfer bonus, and yes, there are going to be more taxes and fees, but it's just going to be what you're going to have to do if you don't happen to have options for all different programs. That's the reason why you want miles with American Airlines. You want miles with Chase, with American Express, with Alaskan. So you have the different opportunities, Capital One, Citi, and then, whichever program, all of those other programs are going to be partnered up with British Airways. You can be able to transfer over to British Airways. You can be able to find this availability. And then you also going to end up using British Airways with whichever other partner to be able, probably Japan Airlines again, to be able to fly down to the Philippines. So there are cheaper ways to get over to the Philippines if you end up using ANA, but when I just look at like availability just on random searches, it looks like it would end up being, if you want to do in business class, close to about a couple 100,000 points round trip, which is higher than most people would want to do. But the Philippines ends up being a hard place to get to. You're going to have to, it all depends on exactly how you want to do it convenient wise versus how many points you want to spend. So that's just something I wanted to bring up because I know someone was asking about that yesterday, but that's kind of some of the stuff that I would actually end up doing in the class, where if you end up having a question, I can end up bringing it up in the class and then showing you. Obviously, it's going to be harder to do in real time because it takes a minute to actually find these awards, but that's what we'll be going over. So, but yeah, that's pretty much going to end up being the breakdown of this class. We went over the Venture X and why this card can end up being a really good card to get, especially if you're someone who doesn't happen to have a luxury travel credit card. If you want to get the elevated offer, check out my referral link. It should be in the description box in here. If it's not in the description box in here, then, and you can't find my referral link, check out whatever other content creator or whatever other referral link you can get, because not only is it going to help out them, but also you end up getting yourself additional points when you actually end up using a referral link at 90,000 points for the Capital One Venture X card. So we went over that. We went over why you need to look into different partner alliances because of the ability to be able to book with partners. And then we went over how to find award availability with these different partners. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed this information. If anyone has any final questions, I will try to do my best that I can to answer them. But that ends up being the class for the first Cheap Travel Knowledge class that we're going to have on YouTube Live. Not seeing anything. Give you guys a minute here. Drink some water. I've been just rambling straight. My throat's starting to get tired. I'm sorry. I know I talk quick. I try to do it more even just when I get excited, but if need be, I can slow down my speaking. But my brain thinks fast as well. So, alrighty. I don't see any additional questions. That is the first class up Cheap Travel Knowledge. Thank you everyone who joined this first class. Please go check out the Patreon. Go check out cheaptravelknowledge.com if you want to try to get yourself assisted bookings, if you want a consultation, or if you just want to find the link to the Patreon to be able to sign up for the Patreon. Again, we are going to be doing the first few classes here on YouTube, and then after it's going to be on Zoom. So if you want to join it, you want to be early access to it, and then have, very few people are going to be connected with me on there, go join that Patreon and be ready to get yourself some great knowledge on there. But thank you everyone who joined here. We're going to be having another one of these. I am going to be doing it again next week, but hope you all enjoyed it. I really appreciate you all stopping by, and I'll catch you all next week for some more knowledge. Peace out.